Hello again. This is Anthony Kuzub, Vice Chair of Toronto Audio Engineering Society. We are here at the Expo 2019, and I am joined with Hugo Larin. Comment ça va?
Ah, well said. Hugo Larin, yeah. Pretty close, but a beautiful accent, though.
Bien sûr, c'est important pour parler un peu de français si tu travailles pour Radio-Canada et puis la coopération.
Merci. Merci de me recevoir pour cette entrevue.
Oh, c'est fantastique de voir ici.
Yep.
Maintenant, you're going to talk about the coolest, craziest technology that I think I've seen in immersive audio. You are a man of many trades, and you are representing some of the world's greatest technology. And it doesn't stop with your involvement with Avid's live sound. It continues into a world that is it's an emerging, immersive world. So how did you get involved in multi-dimensional sound mixing and editing and all of that stuff?
And it's funny you say emergent, immersive. It's the exact word that people used all week last week at Infocom show.
I had to, it's a buzzword, but Infocom is just, like, hey, Bitcoin. Hey, this thing's got blockchain in it. It's like...
Well, spatial audio, 3D audio, multi-channel. There's so many ways to define... Anyway, in the live sound world, which is where I come from, to define, the desire, the clear desire from the audio side of live production to actually kind of catch up to what the lighting guys and video guys have been doing, right? They've been, tracking artists on stage, automatic lighting, pixel mapping. There's some crazy stuff going, but the audio department has been lacking behind, not lacking, but the challenges that comes with deploying more speakers in an audio jobs you can imagine.
Well, I find, I've had the conversation with many people. It's like, look, guys, you got to stop making fun of lighting. They're way ahead of you. And it's a
but their bandwidth they need is that big. That's the joke I make.
It's true. But it's,
Sorry for my lighting folks out there. I love you all.
Well, it's light travels faster than sound, so people appear brighter before you hear them speak. So it's very important to listen to the lighting guys. But you're right. Like the concept of universes is foreign to a sound technician, and yet the ability to see in 3 dimensions is what a lighting person does on a daily basis.
Does exactly.
So how do you take the lessons in that type of technology and apply them to audio? And what are you trying to flourish in the industry for this type of technology?
Well, the way I like to present is those music mixers, those mixing engineers, the guys behind those consoles trying to, get an experience with the audience are literally got to be thinking about that creation of a scene, a sound field, I call it, and obviously it's positioning sources in the space. And there's kind of, it is a buzzword, and beyond a buzzword is, not just the live world. I can talk about the live. This is an industry I come from, the live aspect. But everyone are trying to figure out, beyond how to mix this is how to integrate the workflow, the actual workflow. There's still big question marks.
Yes.
Atmos are providing, some sort of a way to create, Atmos content. But as soon as you, get out of this a bit and trying to create some content, there's a bunch of holes. So, we like to think that the technology that, that we bring here, is an answer, but we're ourselves as well trying to figure out, some of those workflow. But the biggest challenge is, trying to get outside of creating content for a specific channel-based format,
Right.
Trying to wrap our heads around, we're not trying to be specific to, the actual speaker configuration, the speaker arrangement. Let's try to think about, and I'll use the word ambisonic, for example. Let's try to think at how are we going to be delivering, something that can be transcoded on the other side to whatever speaker arrangement. In the case of a broadcaster, obviously, could be guys decoding stuff, people decoding stuff at home. In the case of, studio for live events, will be transcoding to the speaker configuration. So we're talking a lot in some of our presentation about those concepts about creating a sound field
that can be distributed.
That can be distributed, and it's not channel based specific. It's not an Atmos, it's not a surround, it's not a 5.1, it's not a 7.1. It is a ambisonic, for example, format to be
Yeah.
transcoded. Anyway, exciting stuff. I'm fairly new to the immersive world, or the spatial audio world, I would say. But as I love technology, as you kind of mentioned it,
Yeah.
I just rapidly connected to this. And another thing that's important to say, I have the luxury to work with the IRCAM Research Center,
Oh, okay.
which is huge in this equation. It's not just a product from a manufacturer, the Flux software development team, but it is a true relationship with the research center in France called the IRCAM. And as far as I'm concerned, there's two leading poles for research behind spatial audio. There's the Germans, Fraunhofer, and a bunch of other folks, in Germany that have been pushing quite a bit. Not saying that the Japanese aren't doing great stuff too, but I like to think about the Germans. And then in France, this IRCAM center that for the last 30 years have been pushing the research on audio perception, psychoacoustics, and their team is all around music and music creation as well. So we have that luxury as well. So there's beyond just trying to make a product, we've got great knowledge coming from that research center. Anyway, but I'm sidetracking a bit to talk about the excitement, because that's to me that's
But with this investment in research and technology, and the emergence of video game audio, and the emergence of concert experiences being augmented by these technologies in the same way that again, with the lighting guys, they used to hang lights all over the place, but sound guys didn't use those things as effects.
Yep.
Is that mentality changing because now we have the horsepower to do it, or is it that now these tools are available on the market for people to consume?
Interesting question. From if we're purely looking at live production, you could say, and you would naturally say that it was driven a lot by loudspeaker manufacturers. Why? Obviously, some people would say that they want to sell more loudspeakers, and there is a commercial reason for that push.
Totally.
But beyond this, it is really, this concept that, once you actually give a mixing engineer more in stereo to work with, it doesn't want to go back. There's no way back. You're thinking, you're actually wondering why you've been stuck in stereo for all the longest time, which basically, delivers a stereo experience to what? 15% of the crowd, pretty much that's it. So most of the people are getting a mono feed, which...
Yeah, a time-aligned mono feed that is just...
a time-aligned one, thank you.
Well, but at the same time, it's about a cohesive experience, and that's usually where a lot of entertainers have gone with it. But now I think artists are starting, and I use the word artists, are starting to experiment into that third and fourth and fifth dimension of space and time and positioning information that is happening dynamically. So what are some of the tools and some of the techniques that you've discovered in your experimentation for this types of thinking to accommodate these types of artists?
And you point the word artist, and I think it's an important aspect because this is where it starts and should start. It's got to start with an artistic intention, right? The mixer, it's great, as all these discrete channels you can put stuff in, but then what are we trying to transpose? And you know what? Yes, we could put the drums in the back and the percussion on the left side, but that doesn't serve anything good.
Yes.
And as far as a live experience, obviously we get that. What we're trying to do with immersive is to actually localize the people on stage, right? There's a guitar player sitting there, and there's percussion sitting there. So we're trying with the speaker arrangement and the panning techniques used behind, we're trying to bring back that I see something coming from there and I hear it from there, just because it is challenging right now. You are sitting somewhere, you're seeing a guy, on stage there, but you're hearing him from up there. It's just, there's a disconnect. So it's trying to, reconnect what we see and what we hear. And then, obviously, when we talk about this, we could talk about panning techniques. And, with the Spat Revolution project from Flux, we're not bonded to anything proprietary, nor a specific panning type that we chose or we are imposing.
Right.
We're trying to be as agnostic and as open as possible. So we offer a variety of techniques, and each of those are actually very interesting. We could talk about wave field synthesis, which tries to recreate those wave fronts with level and delay panning, which is great, but has some challenges because the speaker arrangement's got to be very strict.
Super precise.
And actually what we are doing in live is doing some compromised version of it. And then beyond that, when you have a non-static scene, some stuff moving, potentially get some audio artifact. You're moving delay and level, so cone filtering and whatever, some sort of things that could happen. So there's a lot of tools or panning tools. I mean, we could talk about VBAP, DBAP, and those non-sweet spot centric one. The way that I appreciate dealing with that Spat Revolution project and the technologies, that I've got a lot of flexibility to use the proper panning technique for the proper approach.
To quote the name of the product, everything that it routes is in flux. Like it's nothing is static.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about the immersive mix. I don't know who I took this technique from, but even when he's mixing, he constantly is just touching things just a little bit in order to give it that feel of the live. It's like when a puppeteer stops moving, it's just a sock on the hand. But when it's constantly got in flux, it's a matter of like being able to give that life back to the object that you're moving
to the
in
object.
space.
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about this literally for an hour, and I obviously enjoy that conversation. And our actual process goes all the way back to thinking about the way that we've been recording or grabbing this material. Because if you really want to think about it, the source is the element. You can try to do anything, in panning as much as you want. At the end of the day, you're bonded to what you've grabbed. Yes. And if you've used a single microphone to grab a source, whatever source, well, obviously you are limited to that single point capture, where you could get pretty creative in creating and using some clusters, microphone clusters.
Absolutely.
MS style. There's different, obviously, microphone techniques there. So it's opening a lot of doors. We've got to rethink it from the capture to the mixing.
So I'm obviously obsessed with metadata and the things about. Why do I say obviously? If those who know me, it's insane.
I know that of you.
What are some of the tools that are available at the record process that augment the mix process later on? Like you say, we have to be more particular about the positioning and the metadata about, the microphone positioning and the array positionings. Like if I had 10 microphones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but I had no metadata about it, what are some of the techniques available to people to capture metadata about their recording arrays?
Huge hole right now.
It's a hole.
Huge hole right now. And this is something I actually have seen recently and heard about some initiative from various manufacturers, software designers, developers involved in the immersive spatial audio world to actually kind of start talking about how do we come up with an ADM, a something, a actual format that we can all speak, So it's back to figuring out some standards. Huge lack. Control protocol. You use quite a bit OSC, and many people use OSC. Okay, it works, but there's a bunch of challenges that come with the lack of synchronization, the lack of confirmation on a UDP. And I could go on and on of why OSC is not necessarily great for thinking larger deployment, larging many special engines at the same time. We've got involved recently in a project where the spatial mix was not just for the venue, it was literally a mixer creating position for what? For the immersive audio engine, which was one manufacturer inside the venue, which was doing a stream live. It was a broadcaster, for that matter of fact, in France, doing a streaming live of that show. So there was literally 3 engines, a SPAT, Revolution, and 2 other engines from other people, and a central controller, if you want, or a mixer, putting those positions, feeding the data, the metadata, obviously. But obviously the challenge was, back to this. What's how are we hooking this up, and who's
MIDI 2.0? Have you studied? Did you look at MIDI 2.0?
Did we? Maybe Gael, my friend, my developer, MIDI 2.0. Are we ready? I don't know. He's telling me,
MIDI 2.0. It's we've had this conversation about incompatibility and the futures.
Don't get me started there.
I know, but I won't. But it's nice to see that the need is there. Right now, everybody who presents a control protocol is very much the cart before the horse. And right now, you got a lot of horses trying to get the show on the go, but they're limited by these. They run into these obstacles. So it's really nice to see that somebody's doing the research on this and somebody's trying to break these obstacles. So I commend you on that.
But I think that there's that portion is one challenge. And I think the other one is obviously the workflows. It's still not clear.
It's not
to a lot of
defined.
people.
Yeah.
It's not defined.
You
There's
can't
a
find a
big
school
undefined-
that's teaching it because there's
And
nobody
there's-
that's retired from it to teach the thing. So
Maybe I could retire.
Yeah, you
is it time for me?
actually, yes, 4 years into an emerging technology is the perfect time to retire and teach it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But you're more than 4 years into this, so I think so.
Well, I'm passionate about the subject.
I
It's
know.
been a fun
Man,
ride.
you and I, we could drink and talk about this for days. So
Where are the
maybe we
drinks?
should.
I'm
Maybe,
ready
yeah,
for it.
I should drink a shot every time I have a guest on. That would have been a great episode.
Yeah.
I would have
we
been
do have a show.
wasted.
We do have a show in Montreal. They actually make recipes. They cook.
Yeah.
But
And
between every single
I've
recipe, they
seen
shot
that
with the
show.
guests. Yeah.
By the end, it's just a mess.
Exactly.
Like everything is
Yeah,
a mess. I think we could do a show like that. But thank you so very much.
It would get really immersive.
Yeah, there you go. It would have to be in mono because nobody would be sober enough to mix it.
Can we find another word than immersive? Like
Than
I'm already
immersive?
fed up about it.
You know,
The word immersive is like the word standard. People over.
But the thing about it is, like, it's not immersive because immersive is the like you got to split the system in half. So I think immersive is the playback system, but the content creation system is like an object-based model.
Yeah,
So
object-based
it's almost
model,
like you have to talk about the two, like the playback, the render, and the capture in 3 different ways. So I'll work on that. I'll come up with 3 new terms.
You know what? I'm sure you can come up with those terms because I think that's one of your strengths for sure.
Well, cheers. So I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate you being part of the
Appreciate
Toronto
interview.
Engineering Expo. This is fantastic.
I'm ready for the next one.
Yeah, thank you. Well, hopefully it turns out to
Well,
be
next time we'll put 24 speaker in the ceiling, and we'll
Yes.
actually get some experience going as we walk into that venue.
Yeah,
What
well,
about that?
back to your point about transportability, and it's like, man, then you got to hire a crew. And, it's
the
like,
crew,
yeah.
the extra truck.
Yeah.
It's not as easy.
So I'm waiting for it. You want to know my big top secret surround sound immersive thing?
Uh-oh.
Okay, so my wife hates speakers. Come on.
Don't they all?
But she doesn't mind a Google Home, and she doesn't mind a Google like Home Mini. So I've thought about this. Imagine going to a Google Home Mini and going, okay, Google, be surround upper left. And you put it on a shelf. And then you go, okay, Google, be surround left lower. And you put it down on the floor. That's really what I want. And I'm working towards that. Anyway.
We need to find a protocol for you to communicate with me which content to send to
AES70.
those.
It's going to all be AES70.
No. Okay, interview's over.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Anthony.
Hey, cheers.
Thank you. Thank you for
Merci
the interview.
beaucoup.
Merci.